40 is 8? What percent of 40 is 8? So in order to figure that out, what we need to do is put 8 over 40 and multiply it by 100 over 1. So 10 could go into 40 4 times. 10 could go into 100 10 times. We also have 4. 4 could go into itself once. And 4 could go into 8 twice. So if we multiply this out, we'll be left with 2 times 10, which is 20. And then this here, we'll be left with 1 times 1, which is 1. So our answer would be 20. All right, so the next question that we'll look at now. So the next question is the exact value of 6 divided by 0.0003. So in order to do this, what we need to do is work out these numbers as whole numbers so we could divide, because remember we can't use a calculator for this exam. So if you look at this here, this says 0.0003. So I could move this 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And if I move this 4 times, I have to do the same thing for the 6. So if I have a 6 here, I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4 times as well. And then I will replace this with 0. So we have a 0 here, 0 here, 0 here, and 0 here. So altogether we have 60,000 divided by 3. So 60,000 divided by 3. That will give us 20,000. Now the next one we have to look at here, it says 6 times 10 to the power of negative n is equal to 0.6. 6 times 10 to the power of negative n is equal to 0.6. So if we have 0.06, they have it here in standard form basically. So what we need to do is try to move this decimal. So we go 1, 2. So we move it to 2 times. So we end up saying that this is basically 6 times 10 to the power of negative 2. Now, if you see here, we have negative n, and what they want specifically is the n value. So this n value is actually this digit right here. Okay, so that's our answer for this one. So this one says that Paul bought 178 meters of fabric to make a shirt, while Rita bought 1 3/4 to make her shirt. How much more fabric did Paula buy than Rita? So we got to figure out how much more she bought than Rita. So basically, when we're doing anything like this, we have to first of all convert it into improper fractions. Now I could show you a little trick to work this out, but you have to convert it into improper fractions. So this one here that we have is going to be 1/7/8. So we have to convert that 1/7/8. So 1 times 8, that's the first thing we need to do. 1 times 8 then we add it to 7. So 1 times 8 is 8, plus 7 is 15 over 8. 15 over 8. Now 1 and 3/4, we do the same thing. So 1 times 4 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So we'll end up with 7 over 4. And remember, this is what Paula bought. Yeah, and this is what Rita bought. Now, in order to find how much more was bought, we have to subtract how much more. If you have 5 chickens and your sister has 3 chickens, how do you find who has more? Do you know? You would have 5 take away 3, right? So it's the same concept here. But the thing is, we can't subtract unless we have a common denominator. So 8 and 4, the common denominator for both of these would be 8. 8 is the LCM of 8 and 4. So 8 into 8 goes 1 time. 4 into 8 goes twice. So we'll end up with 1 times 15 is 15. Take away 2 times 7 is 14. So we'll be left back with 1 over 8. Okay, 1 over 8. So that's our answer right here. So what you could have done here too as well is, if you look at this, for instance, it has 7 over 8. Both of them have 1. So if you think of it as subtracting that 1, all you're concerned about is the fractions. So if this is 7 over 8, we could double this to find a common fraction, which would be what? If I times both of these by 2, and the reason I'm timesing it by 2 because I realize that 4 times 2 would give me this denominator here. So I'll end up with 6 over 8. And if I subtract, I'm left with 1 over 8. Okay, so that's a little way that we could work that one out. Now this one here in particular, the value of 29.94 times 0.5. 29.94 times 0.5. Now with this here, we could do the same concept like we did the last time with the other question. But another tactic that we could use, if you look at this, 29.94. Now this number specifically, if you was to think of this as a whole number to the nearest whole number, what would you do? What would you do? You could just say 29.94 is basically 30. If you round that to the nearest whole number, that's like saying 30. And I'm saying 30 times 0.5. What does 0.5 represent? Half. This is the decimal form of saying half. So if I'm saying 30 times a half, I'm trying to figure out what is approximately half of 30. And half of 30 would be 15. So this is basically, in essence, what we would have to do in order to approximate this value. So you have to use little tricks like this in an exam to help you move along quickly. So this one says, there are 40 students in a class. Girls make up 60% of the class, and 25% of the girls wear glasses. So when I'm reading this, I'm just breaking this one time. I'm not going to try to do everything at once. So the first thing it says, we have 40 students. Okay, 40 students. And it says girls make up 60% of the class. So before I even continue, I want to figure out how much is 60%. Okay, how much is 60%? So we know that 60%, we put that over 100, and we multiply that by 40 over 1. So if we work this out now, I could say that 10 could go into 100 how many times? 10 times. So this is a little trick that we would do. We cross off some zeros because we're dividing by 10. So 100 divided by 10 is 10. 40 divided by 10 is 4. 60 now, we could divide this by 10 because we still have 10 at the bottom. So 60 divided by 10 is 6. 10 divided by 10 again is 1. So now we are left with 6 times 4 over 1 times 1, which gives us 24 girls. All right, so now I can continue going about my day. I know if 24 are girls, then I could figure out how many are boys. So if I needed to figure out how many are boys, I could just say 40 take away 24, which gives us 16 boys. Now, I continue with reading the question. It says now that 25% of the girls wear glasses. How many girls in the class wear glasses? So I know that 25% of the girls wear glasses. So that would be 25 over 100 times what we just worked out here, which would be 24 girls, right? Because we're checking 25% of the actual girls in the class. Now the next thing we need to do now, same thing we were doing earlier. We have the 100 here, 25 here. 25 could go into 25 once, and 25 could go into 100 4 times. All right, so now we have to find a quarter of 24. So basically 4 could go into itself once, and 4 can also go into 24 6 times. Therefore, our answer for this would be 6. So we are saying that 6 girls wear glasses. All right, simple stuff here. Now this one here, this look like light work. So let's see how it is. 3 times 7 plus 3 times 5 is the same as. Now this here comes straight from distributive law. So say for instance, if we had A, B plus C, for instance, we would multiply A times B to get AB plus A times C to get this. Now if you look at this here, you can see the comparison. You can see that A times B is like this first part here, and then the next part is like A times C. Now the common factor that we have between these was A. The common factor here is 3. Okay, so then when I factorize this, if you was to think of this as factorizing, I would take the 3 out and I'll end up with 3 open brackets, and then I'll be left with 7 plus 5. So then that's basically our answer, because we have 7 plus 5. That's our answer there. So this one here is the answer. Now if you really, did not know that, or did not know how to work that out, what you could basically have done was just try each of these. So 3 times 7, 21. 3 times 5, 15. And then you kind of try to see which one works. Okay, but you have to remember still how to do BODMAS and all that stuff. And then you work it out and then ensure that you get the same answer. So that's just another way of working this out. So this one asks, what is the highest common factor of the set of numbers? So we have 30, 45, 90. We want to think of a number that can go into all 3 of these without a remainder, and it has to be the highest number. Okay, so the one for this would be 15. Just looking at our options, 3 can go into this, but it's not the highest. 5 can also go into all 3 of these, but it's not the highest. 15 now can go into all 3 of these. So we know it's this answer, because 90 cannot go into all 3 of these. 90 can only go into 90. So therefore, our answer is this. Remember, it said the highest. Yes, these are common factors, but they are not the highest. with this question, anytime you see this question, what is the least number of plums that can be shared equally among either 6, 9, or 12 children? So it's saying like if you had like 6, different things and you put them in groups, you keep grouping them together. So 6, 6, 6, 6, 9, 9, 9, 9, 12, 12, 12, 12. Like what number would you be able to share the same number of things, right? So the only number that you would be able to do that for is the LCM of all of these numbers. Okay? So if you look at this one in particular, you'll end up with 36, because the LCM of 3 of these numbers would be 36. So if you think of it here, you would have 6 groups of 6 to get like 36 stuff, 4 groups of 9, and 3 groups of 12 to end up with 36. That's the smallest number that you could get all 3 of them equally. Now it says, if 3n is an odd number, which of the following is an even number? So 3n could be any number that we're looking at. We're just looking at 3n to be a number that is odd. So say for instance we had the 3n here, and we end up trying to figure out what the odd number is. We know that all odd numbers are literally like 1 less or 1 more than each even number. So say for instance, let's treat 3n as if it was, for instance, any odd number that we could think of. I'll just say 7. Okay, I just choosing 7. There's no other reason than I'm just saying that 3n represents an odd number, 7. So let's use this for instance. So 7 take away 1, because now we are just saying that this is 7, this is 7, all of these represent 7. Okay, so if we say 7 take away 1, we'll end up with 6, which is an even number. If I said 7 plus 2, I'll end up with 9, because 7 plus 2 is 9, which is not a even number. And 7 take away 2 is 5, which is not an even number. It's also odd. And this here, we would have to literally work out what that is to figure out what it is. But we know for sure it's definitely going to be A, because a 1 number less than an odd number will always give us an even number. Now this here is a very popular question. This here comes a lot more often than people would actually believe. This here represents the subset. Now, in order to work that out, we always have to put 2 to the power of the number of elements. So it's always 2n. No matter what it is, it's always going to be 2n. It's always going to be 2n. So in this case now, we have 3 elements. So I know that it's going to be 2 to the power of 3. And what's 2 to the power of 3? 2 to the power of 3 is 8. Because this is like saying 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. Now, if you want to go and break down the subsets, remember, these are numbers that could fall, in this case, into 6 and 9. A smaller group would just be 3 alone by itself. We could have 6 by itself. We could have 9 by itself. We could have 3 and 6. We could have 3 and 9. We could also have 6 and 9. And remember, 3, 6, and 9 is also a subset of itself. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, another subset that we have is the empty set. Now, the empty set is also considered a subset because we can't technically say that the element inside of here is not included in here. Now, let me give you an example. If I had the number 8, I could say that 8 is a number that's not included in here, so therefore is not a subset. However, with this one here, with the empty set, we cannot say, oh, the empty set is not included in this. This is why it's quote unquote considered still part of the subset. So our answer here would be 8. The next one says, in which of the following Venn diagrams is the region A intersection B complement? A intersection B complement. So let's try to see what that is. So we have A intersection B complement. So what this means is we'll have A first, and then we're finding what's common between A as well as B. This intersection part is just asking us what is common. What is common between the both sets? So if I was to sketch what A would look like, we would have A here as well as B here. So if I was to shade A, I know that this part represents A. Now, let's try for B. So this is A, and now we'll do B complement. So if you never heard about B complement, what that means is everything outside of B. Everything outside of B. So if this is B, B complement would be everything outside here that's not inside of B. So if you look here now, and we try to look at this here now, we realize that we have something that's common, a common shaded area, and a common shaded area is this part here, as well as this. These are the common areas that we have shaded in both diagrams. So because of that, we would consider A intersection B complement to be that part that we just saw, which would be right here when we put them together. This part is also referred to as A only. So if you look here, we have the answer right here, which is A only. So this is the answer for this one. Note 13. The universal set U is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And H is 3, 4, and 6. What is H complement? So this is a universal set. We don't need this. We only have one in this case. So let's say we have H here. This represents H. And inside H we have 3, 4, and 6. So now we are left with 1, 2, and 5. So I'll put 1, 2, and 5 outside. And this here would represent everything that's outside of H. So outside of H, we have what? 1, 2, and 5. Everything outside of H is these here. So 1, 2, and 5 would be this. Therefore, that's our answer. All right, so we're looking at this one here now. It says in the Venn diagram, we have students who play games. So students who play hockey, students who play volleyball. The number of students in each set is indicated. How many students do not play volleyball? So we are looking at those who play volleyball and those who play hockey. We have two different sets here. So let's say this is the people that play hockey. And we have the people that play volleyball. Now, in this particular question, what we're trying to figure out is how many students do not play volleyball. So we have to look for the people outside of the V, or this circle here, which would be this 5 and this 3. So 5 and 3 is 8. So we have 8 people who do not play volleyball. 5 and 3, which is 8. So answer for this is 8. So we're moving along now. So simple interest on 600 for 4 years is a formula for this, which usually goes principal times the rate times the time over 100. This here is a P. This here is a time, 4 years. And the 5% represents the rate. So technically we could have here P, which is 600, times R, which is 5, times 4, which is T, over 100. And the answer that best represents this is this one here. So this question says 3/4% of 500. Now, if I'm calculating this, what I can do is I can go 3/4, just put it as a whole for now, and just put that over 100, and then multiply that by 500. This should help to make things a little simpler, especially since we can't use a calculator. So if you have 3/4 over 100 times 500, you could say 100 into itself goes once. 100 into 500 goes 5 times. So now literally we would have 3/4 times 5. Now 3/4 times 5. What I can do here now is convert this into a mixed number. Well, it's a mixed number, sorry, improper fraction. So you could say 4 times 3 plus 1 is 13 over 4 times 5. So 13 times 5 is 65 over 4. And then now we could say how many times can 4 go into 65. So let's say we had a division here. So 65 here. And 4 into 6 goes 1 time. The remainder would be 2. So now we could say 4 into 25 goes 16 times. But remember, we have a remainder of 1. So basically, we have 16 and a quarter, because we have a remainder of 1 over 4. So a quarter is the same thing as saying 0.25. So we know that this here is our answer. So next question. Mrs. Jones has $200 to change to TT dollars. The bank gives her $6.20 for $1 US and charges $2.50 for the transaction. Mrs. Jones receives how many TT dollars? That's what we're trying to basically work out here. Alright, so if you look at it, Mrs. Jones has $200, 200 US. Alright, and we are saying that the rate here is $1 US to 620. So $1 US is equal to 620. Now, in this case, if we're trying to go from $1 to 620, so we basically are going from US to TT, we have to multiply. Okay, we have to multiply. So if I have 200, I have to say 200 multiplied by 620 would give us our answer. But don't forget, after we work this out, we have to add the 250 to it. Now the thing is, if we're doing a multiple choice exam, we don't necessarily want to be trying to work this out per se. So we could use a little trick. So it's easier for us to use like $100, figure out how much $100 is what. So if $1 is 620,
So if $1 is equal to 620, let's put it as this. I could multiply this by 100 and this by 100, and basically we'd be saying that $200 is equal to, $100 is equal to the 620. So 100 US is equal to $620. So if 100 US is 620 TT, how much do you think 200 would be? All we have to do is double this. So if we double this, we'll say $200 is equal to double this. So 0 plus 0, 0, 2 plus 2 will give us 4, because I'm adding 620 twice. And 6 and 6 would give us 120. Now 1,240 TT is equal to 200 US. But remember what they told us. They told us that we still have to add some money to that, which is a 250 charge. So if we add 250 to 1,240, we would get our answer. So that would basically give us 1,242.50. So this is our answer here. Alright, so we're looking at question 18 now. It says a man's basic wage for a 40-hour week is $160. Getting paid low by $160 for 40-hour weeks. He is paid $5 per hour for overtime. He's paid $5 per hour for overtime. Okay. If he works 6.5 hours overtime in a certain week, his wage for that week is, so we already know in 1 week he making $160. But this time he works an extra 6.5 hours. So basically we're gonna figure out what 6.5 is if we getting $5 per hour. Now we could work this out, the long way, or we could just do a little trick to it. So let's say we had 6.5 hours. And we have $5 per hour. When I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, we got 6 hours, then we got $5. So then each hour I'm making $5. That's just simple 6 times 5, which is $30. Now if I'm doing for half an hour, I'm gonna get half of $5. What is half of $5? $250. So half times 5 would give us $250. So his overtime pay would be $32.50 overtime. Now if we have this $32.50, we just need to add it to the $160 to get his pay for the entire week. So the week, his wage would be equal to $160 plus this $32.50. Okay, so $32.50 plus $160 would give us $192.50. So that's our answer for that one. So you have to use little tactics like that sometimes to, move a little quicker in the exam room. In this particular one now, it says a dinner at a restaurant was advertised at $60 plus 18% tax. The total bill, notice they didn't ask us just for a portion of the bill. They actually asking us for the total of the bill. So that means we have to work out what the tax is and add it to the $60. 100. So we could say, okay, 10 could go into 100 10 times, 10 could go into 60 6 times. 10, we could also put 2 into 10. 2 into 10 goes 5 times. 2 into 18 goes 9 times. So we end up here with 9 times 6. And 9 times 6 would give us 54. And we divide that by 5. So 54 divided by 5 would basically tell us how much money we're going to actually be getting from this tax that we have to pay to the government. Alright, so I could just divide that. So 5 here, 54, just like we did earlier, 5 into 5 goes, so that goes 0 times, and we have a remainder of 4. So 10 remainder 4 over 5. 10 remainder 4 over 5. Now 4 over 5. If we're doing 4 as a fraction, 4 over 5 as a fraction, that would basically end up giving us 0 point. Now if we put 40 here, so it's going to turn to 40 over 5. You have to think of it from that perspective. 40 divided by 5 would give us what? 8. Okay, so 0.8 is 4 over 5. So then now we could say 10.80 is our tax. Now we take this 10.8, add it to the 60. So 60 plus 10.80 would give us 70.80. And that's our answer here. Alright, soon done with these consumer arithmetic questions. These are the ones that you have to be very careful with, because if anything, these are the ones that are going to make you have to apply English as well as math skills. So you got to be careful with how you're doing it and make sure that you go through it thoroughly. So it says a store offers a discount of 10% to customers who spend more than $20. So that's a condition. If a customer's total bill is $80, so clearly we're spending more than $20, what will he actually pay? So we have to figure out the final payment. So let's figure out what's 10% of 80. 10% of 80. So 10% of 80. What is 10% of 80? So 10 into 100 goes 10 times. 10 into 80 goes 8 times. 10 into itself goes once. And 10 into itself again here goes once. So we end up with 8 times 1, which is 8. We have 1 over 1, 8 over 1, which is basically $8. So we have $8 here. And if the original bill was 80, we'll just say 80, take away 8, which is 72. So then our answer is 72. A salesman sells a car for $10,500. If he is paid commission of 5% for the first $10,000, so he has $10,000. He's paid a commission of 5%. So he's paid 5% of the first 10,000. Okay? So this 10,000 that he has here, he's paid 5% of that. And his original price is 10,500. So this is his original price, 10,500. And he has 5% paid on the 10,000 and 8% on the remainder. So the remainder here would be 10,500. Take away 10,000, which is 500. So he's paid 8% on this. So if you find 5% of 10,000, that would be the first thing to do. So 5 over 100 times 10,000. 100 into itself goes once. 100 into this. We cross off these two zeros. We end up with 5 times 100, which is $500. So that's the first one. Now the second one is 8% of 500. So 8 over 100 times 500. So 100 goes into itself once, and 100 goes into 500 5 times. So we'd end up with 8 times 5, which is 40. So now we have $500 and $40 that he's going to be getting paid in commission. So we could just add those together, which would give us 540. So that's our answer, 540. Alright, so we say Mr. Jones buys a car for $64,000. The car depreciates by 20% in the first year. So it's what, 64,000 originally, and depreciates by 20% in the first year. And in the second year, it goes 10%, and any other year after that it goes 10%. So we need to figure out the value in the end of the second year. So after the first year, let's figure out what the value is. So 64,000, and then now we're going to multiply that by 20 over 100. Okay, so 100 into itself goes once. 100 into this goes 640 times. So we basically gonna have here 640 multiplied by 20. So we multiply these first. So 0 times 0 is 0. 0 times 4, 0. 6 times 0, 0. Remember, we have to bring a 0 here. Don't forget it before we start multiplying that. So 20 times 0 is 0. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 6, 12. So if we add these together now, we'll have 12,800. That's going to be deducted from this original price. So the value at the end of the first year is 64,000 take away 12,800. So if we subtract these, so then we have to bring over a 1 for this. So we could get 10. So 10 take away 8 is 2. 3 take away 2 is 1. This here is 5. So we are left with 51200. So that's the value at the end of the first year. Very important. Now for the second year, we need to apply now 10%. So now we have to find 10% of this new value over here. Okay, so if we have 200 times 10 over 100, 100 into itself goes once, 100 into this, we'll be left with 512 times 10, which gives us 5120. Now what we need to do here to find our final answer is subtract this here from this number that we had from the first year. So the first year, take away the deduction in the second year, would give us the value for the end of the second year. So that would be 51200 minus 5120. So 0 take away 0, 0. So we have to bring a 1 for this one. So it's going to be 10 take away 2, which is 8. 1 take away 1, 0. For this one, we have to bring a 1 again. So we'll be left with 4. 11 take away 5, we'll end up with 6. And then after, we'll end up with 4 take away nothing is 4. So 46080. So this is our answer right here. Alright, so we survived the consumer arithmetic section. So we just need to work out what we're going to be doing now for the algebra section. So this here looks like a plus. Okay, so for this one here, we have 15p plus 55q take away 2 times 3p plus 4q. Okay, so if you're looking at this now, what we need to do is we have to expand this. So this has its own thing already going on, so we leave this here. So then we say negative 2 times 3p. That's what we have to do, okay? So we'll end up rewriting this plus 55q. Negative 2 times 3p would give us minus 6p. Negative 2 times positive 4q would give you negative 8q. Now what we need to do is group the like terms. So always remember signs. Always remember your signs. Okay, maybe if I keep the p's in one color and this in the next color, the q's. So if you look at this, this is how we swap with the signs. When you're watching it like from this perspective, that's what we have to do. So if we have 15p, we bring this sign with it, so minus 6p. Then we have plus 55q, and we bring this sign with it, which is minus 8q. So therefore, if you do 15p take away 6p, we'll end up with 9p. And then if you say plus 55q take away 8q, that would leave us with plus 47q. So answer is this one right here. So you have to be careful with that when you're doing it. Got to be paying attention to what you're doing, especially when it comes to the signs. That's the only thing that really gets you in problems there. So we have this here now. We say negative times negative 2q. So negative times negative would give us a positive. So we'll end up with positive 2q. So negative 2q. And then we have minus 3q. So a minus and a minus gives us positive. Therefore, we'll end up with 2q. And then we have to take away 3q. So 2q take away 3q, we'll end up with minus q. Alright, so this here we look like we have 2 to the power of 6 divided by 2 to the power of 2. Now, if you have like a division, once we have the same base here, the base would stay the same. So we'd have 2. And since we have 6 here, we would say 6 minus 2. Whenever we're doing the same base and we're dividing, we could subtract the powers. So then it's going to be 2 to the power of 4, which is this one here. So we want to figure out what the value of p is. So we have p over 5 is equal to basically 20 over 1. So let's cross multiply. So p times 1 would be equal to 20 times 5. Now the reason we did that is because we want to have the p by itself. And as you can see here, we have p by itself. So p is equal to 20 times 5. And if you see here, this is our answer for that. Now to say when 7 is added to 3 times a certain number, so 7, when it says added, that means plus, to 3 multiplied by a certain number n. So it's 3 times a number n. The result, meaning, is equal to 22. So 7 plus 3n is equal to 22. Now, the only thing that suits this is this one here. It's just that they swap the 3n plus 7. So we know that this here is our answer. A very interesting question here. Very, very interesting question here. So it says 36 men can paint a shopping mall in 25 days. Okay, in 25 days. So we have 36 men painting a shopping mall in 25 days. You could basically say 25 days. And we also have a question asking us, what would 15 men be able to do? So we have how many days will it take 15 men? So we got 15 men here. And how many days would they take? Now this question isn't straightforward. However, if you think of it, if you have 36 men, we have 36 men, and they take like 25 days to do it, you would expect that 15 men would actually take longer. Okay? So it's like once the number of men go up, the number of days would go down. But if we had the number of men going down, we expect that the time for the days would end up going up. Okay? So when we have a situation like this, we could say basically that in men, the relationship between the men and the days would be inversely proportional. So that means that as the men increase, the days will go down and vice versa. So in order to work this out, we will have to say M, our men, would be equal to K over the number of days. So now, based on the first option that we had here, we have to figure out what K is. Now, K is just a constant. So this constant just means like, they did the experiment a few times and they figure out like, oh, usually when we try to work this out, all we need to do is figure out what K is. We divide any of the number of days by that and we know how much men we need. So we have men, 36. 36 men would be equal to K over 25, because that is the number of days, 25. Now, similar to what we did earlier, we cross multiply to figure out or get K by itself. So we end up with 36 times 25 is equal to K times 1. So if we want to figure out what K is, we need to multiply 36 and 25. So 36 times 25. So 5 times 6. What is 5 times 6? That's 30. We put the 3 here. 3 times 5, 15. 15 plus 3, 18. So then after, we have to put a 0, don't forget. Then 2 times 6. What is 2 times 6? 2 times 6 is 12. So we put the 2 here. And now we put the 1 here. So 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. So now we need to add these numbers here. So 0 plus 0 is 0. 8 plus 2 is 10. We cross out the 0 here. Put plus 1 would give us 9. And we have 900. So 36 times 25 is 900. So K is equal to 900. Alright, we're not done yet. See, these kind of questions are a bit lengthy. So then now we have that men, the number of men is basically equal to 900 over the number of days. So in this case, if we want to figure out what the days are, we could substitute M with 15. So we could say 15 men would be equal to 900 divided by the days. Alright. Now, what we need to do now is to get D by itself. So we put 15 over 1, cross multiply again. So this times this is equal to this times this. So we'll end up with 15D is equal to 900. Now to get the D by itself, we divide both sides by 15. And our answer would be 900 divided by 15. Now, how I could split this up is just keeping this here by itself here. So I could say 15 into 15 goes once. Now follow me here. I'm looking at it from the 90 alone. I'm not watching the 0. I'm going to leave that 0. So I'm saying that 90, 15 could go into this 90 how many times? So we have 15, 15 plus 15, 30, 30 plus 15, 45, 45 plus 15, 60, 60 plus 15, 75, 75 plus 15, 90. That's 6 times. So if you look at it, it's going to be a 6. Then we have the 0 here. Okay, so then therefore, our answer is 60 days. So then this is the answer right here. Okay, it's quite a bit of work to do this one, but this is how this one is done. Alright, so for this one here now, it says if x is equal to 4 and y is equal to 2, then the value of x squared plus 3y over xy is, so we have x squared plus 3y over xy. Now all I need to do in this case is substitute. So replace the x with 4 and replace the y with 2. So I'll end up with 4 to the power of 2 plus 3 times 2. And this is going to be divided by x times y, which is 4 times 2. Good stuff here, man. So 4 to the power 2 means 4 times 4, which is 16, plus 3 times 2 is 6. And that's going to be over 4 times 2, which is 8. 16 plus 6 is 22. And then that's going to be over 8. So we have 22 over 8. We could, try to reduce this now. So 2 into 8 goes how many times? 4 times. And 2 into 22 goes 11. So then we have 11 over 4. But now we would have to convert this into a mixed number. So 4 could go into 11 twice. The remainder for that would be 3. So therefore we'd have 3 over 4. So our answer for this is this. Question 30. It says the trapezium with height h has an area of x squared. So the area of this is x squared. So area is equal to x squared. The equation that may be used to find the value of x is, now we have area here, which is given to us as x squared, but what we can also do is find the area using the regular formula. This would be basically half, open brackets, a plus b times h. Now this is a formula you can find on the formula sheet. It's a formula for a trapezium. So what does a plus b represent? This represents a parallel line. So this parallel line and this parallel line. So that's equal to half, which is going to be multiplied by a plus b. What is a? A could be this top number or the bottom number. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to say a is this top number, which is 2. So I'm going to have 2 plus b, which is x minus 4. And I'm going to multiply that by the height, which is just h. They didn't give us the actual number. So then we have half multiplied by 2 plus x minus 4. So I could have the x here plus 2 minus 4 times h. So at this point, I might as well just bring the h over and multiply by this. So we just have h, just rearranging it, half times h times what's left in this. So that's going to be x. And then 2 take away 4 is minus 2. Now half h can also be written as h over 2. And then we'll have here h over 2 x minus 2. So therefore, this is our second formula for the area. We have 2 expressions for the area, so we could basically put these together and we get this equation. So x squared is equal to h over 2 x minus 2. we're saying that alright, let's see if we get this to sync. So with this one here, we're missing a page here, but that's fine. We'll just continue working on this. So this one says the volume of the cuboid is 320 centimeters cubed. 320 centimeters cubed. Now what we need to work out is the height. Well, they said the height is 5. So what we need to work out is the length of one side, but it's telling us that it is a square. It is a square. Now the volume of the cuboid is 320. So it's saying that this whole thing has a volume of 320, sorry. Okay, now this is a trapezium, prism, sorry. And when we have a prism, we say that the volume of a prism is equal to the area times the height. So it's saying that we have a square base right here. So think of this as a square base. And the height here is 5. So we know that h is 5. And we also know what the volume is already. Okay? So we are saying that whatever this is here, it's equal to the area. So whatever length this is, let's say it's x, this here also has to be x, because it basically forms a square. So if we could figure out what the area of this is, we could then figure out what the length of one is. Alright? And that's what we need to do. So first things first, I could substitute this v with 320. And I could say 320 is equal to a, which is the area, multiplied by the height. So in this case, the height is 5. So we are saying 320 is equal to 5 times a, which is 5a. Let's divide both sides by 5 to figure out what the area. So now 320 divided by 5. Let's work that out. So we do our famous division here. So 5 into 3 goes 0, remainder 3 right here. So then we have 32, so 32. So 5 into 32 now goes how many times? 6 times. And then after, once we have that now, we have a remainder of 2. Because remember, 6 times 5 is 30, remainder 2, right? So 5 into 2, 0 now, which is 20. 5 into 20 goes 4 times. So we are saying that our area is 64. Now this is the thing. If your area is 64 and we are saying that the area of the square is what we're looking at, that means like if we multiply two numbers and it's a number that is itself, we should get 64. So some number multiplied by some number is equal to 64. So in other words, x times x in this case is what? X squared, which is equal to 64. Because x times x would be giving us the area of this. Now, what's the opposite of squared? Square root. So we could say x is equal to the square root of 64. Therefore, x is equal to 8. So I know that the centimeters for this one is actually 8 centimeters. And that's our answer for that. It's a bit, you know, has a different steps and stuff, but if you really break it down and go through it, you realize it's not as bad as it looks. It says now a square has the same area as a rectangle with sides of length 9 and 16. Okay, so we have a rectangle. It's 16 here, 9 here. So we're saying that this has a particular area, which would be 9 times 16. That's the area of this here. And we're also saying that we have a square. Areas of these two shapes are the same. No, 9 times 16. This is literally like similar to the question we just did above. No, 9 times 16. What is 9 times 16? So, 9 times 6, 54. We cross off the 4, put the 4 here, bring the 5 over. 1 times 9 is 9. 9 plus 5 is 144. So the area of this is 144 centimeters squared. Now we're saying that the area of this one here is also 144 centimeters squared. Now the thing is, what this means is that if we say x times x, we're basically saying x squared is equal to 144 centimeters squared. So what is the opposite of this? The opposite of doing this would be finding the square root of 144 like we did earlier. So therefore, x would be equal to 12 centimeters. X would be equal to 12 centimeters. Therefore, this is our answer right here. Alright, so the next question now. The distance around a lake is 8 kilometers. On a map, this distance around the lake is represented by a length of 2 centimeters. It's represented by a length of 2 centimeters. So what I can write here now, I could say 2 centimeters is the same as 8 kilometers. So 2 centimeters, 8 kilometers. It represents the same lake. So let's just say this was our lake here. We're going around the lake. Now 2 centimeters. If I was to divide both of these by 2, I'll be left with 1 centimeter is the same as 4 kilometers. Now basically when we're doing scales, both of them would be in the same unit, right? So this would be 1 centimeter and this here has to also go to centimeters. Now say if you don't know how to convert fully kilometers to meters, but for say you know that a kilometer is 1,000 meters, so basically 1 kilometer, you could say here, is equal to 1,000 meters. You could work out the meters first and then after that work out centimeters. So 1 centimeter therefore would be the same as 4 times 1,000, which is basically 4,000 meters. Alright, and then the next one is going to be 4,000 meters to centimeters. So I know that 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. So then essentially what we end up doing is multiplying 4,000 meters now to centimeters, multiplying 2 of these numbers, and that's what we're going to get centimeters. So if I multiply 4,000 times 100, I'm literally just adding these zeros to this number. So 4,000 times 100 would look something like this. Like say the decimal point would be here, we move 2 zeros, so then we'll have 1, 2. So we have to fill in these zeros here. So it's going to be 4, 0, 0. And then after we put these other 3 zeros, 1, 2, 3. And this is in centimeters. So our answer is 1 centimeter to 400,000 centimeters, which represents this here. And this is our answer then. Alright, so question 4, the median of the numbers. Now the good thing about this one is that they actually put the numbers in order from lowest to highest already. Now if you did not get the numbers in lowest to highest, you have to arrange them from lowest to highest in order to figure out the median. So let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers here, right? So let's just work out which ones are the middle. So we cross off 1 at the end and the beginning. We do that again, beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, end. So now we realize now that we are stuck with two numbers in the middle. So if we want to figure out a median, we have to figure out the average of these two numbers, which would be 6 plus 7 divided by 2. Now 6 plus 7 is what? 13. So 13 divided by 2 would give us 6.5. So answer is 6.5. Now it says further one refers to the following table. We're trying to figure out what the modal score is. So let's look at all these scores. So we have scores that are 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 11. They're not asking us the highest score. They're asking us for this. If I'm looking at the number 11, that means two students got 11. So it would be like 11, 11. If I'm looking at the 6, that means we had somebody get 6, somebody else got 6, someone else got 6. With this one here with a 3, someone got a 3, another person got a 3. Basically, we end up with 4 people with 3s. We had 8 people with 2s, 6 people got 5s, and so forth. So clearly in this case, the one with the highest number of students was the one that gave us the 12. Which score gave us 12? 8. So 8 is the score that gave us 12. Therefore, I know that this here represents the modal score. And when we hear the word modal, it's just an adjective used to describe mode. Okay, so if I'm saying what is a mode, I could also say what is a modal score. It's just the adjective for this particular instance. So the answer is 8. Now further to the height in centimeters of 10 students are what we have here. Now it says the range. What is the range? So the range is the highest value minus the lowest. So if you look here, what is the highest? So the highest value we have here would be 170. And the lowest is we have 150. Do we have anything less than 150? Nope, nothing less than 150. So 150 is the lowest. So therefore we could say 170 take away 150. 170 take away 150? 20. This question here was light work once you know what's going on. Once you definitely know what's happening. Now this question says, how many children took part in the survey? So this is testing your ability to read a chart. So students age 4, children age 4, we had 3 of them. Student age 5, we had 4 of them, so 3 plus 4. Then age 6, we had 2 of those. Age 7, we had 5 of those. Age 8, we had 1 of those. So all we have to do is add up these numbers. So 3 plus 4, 7. 7 plus 2, 9. 9 plus 5, 14. 14 plus 1, 15. So our answer for this one would be 15 people. Examination. So I'll just put 600 here. The probability of a randomly selected student failing the examination is 1 out of 5. How many students are expected to pass? So we have the percentage out of the probability of those failing. but they want us to figure out how much are expected to pass. So if we could figure out how many are expected to fail, we could work out how many are expected to pass. So how many are expected to fail? 600 times 1 over 5. Okay? And we are not going to be among those. We're going to be definitely the ones who passing. So 600 times 1 over 5 is the same thing as saying 600 divided by 5. So we could do our fancy division here again. So 5 into 6, we go 1 time, we bring over the 1. So then 5 into 10 now goes twice. Then 5 into 0, 0. So 120 people are expected to fail. Now to pass, all we need to do is subtract 120 and 600. So we have 600 minus 120, which gives us our answer. So 600 minus 120. 0 take away 0, 0. So we have here 5. 10 take away 2, 8. We have here 5 take away 1, 4. So 480. So that's our answer for that. So 480 people are expected to pass. That's the kind of energy we here shooting for. So if 12 students prefer lemonade, then the total number of students. So we're trying to figure out the total number of students by knowing what lemonade is. So lemonade represents 12. 12 students. Now, you can see a little trick here. It says here now that AOC is the diameter. That is great news. If AOC is a diameter, if right here is a diameter, it only means that this whole thing here is 180 degrees. Now we smile and we punching now. 180 degrees. So if there's 180 degrees, right? Just follow me here. You'll see how this is gonna be important. Inside of here is gonna be 60%. Represents 12 students. So 6 degrees can be represented by 12 students. Now, if you split this here, guess what we have? 60 degrees here again, and 60 degrees here again. 60 plus 60 plus 60 is 180. So we are saying that here has 12 students. Here also has 12 students. We know here has 12 students. So how many students do we have on the 180 side? 12 plus 12 plus 12, which is 36 students. Okay, so if we add 12 plus 12 plus 12, that would give us 36. Now if we are saying that this side over here represents 36, that must mean that the next side over here must also represent 36. Why? Because this is half of a circle. So if one side of the circle represents 36, that means the other side must represent 36 as well. So what we could do in that instance is basically add the two 36s together, and that would give us the total number of students. So 6 plus 6, 12. We bring over the 1, 3 plus 3, 9. 9 plus 1, 6, 12. 3 plus 3 is 6, sorry, plus 1, 7. So we have 72. So 72 students are the ones that make this total up. Okay, so that would be our answer for this one. You just use a little tactic to work this out as opposed to, calculations and stuff. Sometimes you just have to use your knowledge and understanding of things to get through the questions, as opposed to sitting down there and trying to do a calculation for everything. It's deductive reasoning. So this one here, we know for sure is not a 1-to-1. So that's out for sure. Now, if you look at this, we have this going to this one here, this one going to this. Okay. We also have this going here, this going here, and we have this one going from here to here. So once you have more than one on this side going to one over here, what we're saying is this here represents a many, and this red here also represents many going to one. So overall, this is a many to one situation. All right. So, which of the following line graphs represents -2, x is more than that, and x is less than or equal to 4? Now, for this part here, right, the trick about this is once you see the equal sign underneath this, once you go on a number line, once this is over the 4, it's going to be shaded. Now, in this case, this does not have an equal to sign at the bottom. So we could just put a open circle and leave it like that. The only time we make this dark is when we have an equal sign underneath. So we just would end up like shading this area here, right? So if that is the case, what we'll end up doing now is looking for that along here. So if you look at all of these here, this one has 2 dark, so that is not the answer. This one here has 2 open, not the answer. This one here has a 1 on the left over the 2 colored, which is not the answer. So we know it is this one here. So this question is asking us for the maximum point. So we have a curve here. This is a curve. This is a curve right here. Comes along. Now it asks us what's the maximum point. So maximum just meaning the highest point, which is here, could be represented as 2, 4. So 2, 4 represents this coordinate here, which is a maximum point. So our answer here is 2, 4. All right, let's try this next one here now. It says the values of x at the points we have 4x minus x squared intersect y equals 0. So we're looking for where y is equal to 0. So this here is a y-axis. This represents 4. This is 2. This is 0. So y is 0 along this line here. Okay. Now if we go in, you realize that it intersects right here at a value where it's 0, as well as when x is equal to 4. So x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 4. Okay, so you would notice that at those 2 points is where it hits the x-axis. All right, so next question. It says the diagram represents the mapping that we have for one of these here. We need to figure out which one it is. So the best way you could start off by doing it is trying 1, so x plus 2. So whatever x value is, we add in 2 to it. So first value is 0. So then we have 0 plus 2, which is what? 2. That does not exist on the first line, so we know that this is already out. Next one now. X plus 1. X plus 1. So this is 1. And then after we have, let's try with 0 first. So we have 0 first. So we have 0 here. And we're going to say 0 plus 1 because the value is x plus 1. This is the formula we're looking at now, x plus 1. Now 0 plus 1 is equal to 1. So it works for the first one. That's good. Let's try it for the second one. So 1 now. And then after we have x is 1 plus 1. Remember, this represents x plus 1. And this here is x. So 1 plus 1 is 2. We're looking good still. We're looking good still. Let's try the next one now. So 2, when x is 2, we have 2 plus 1. What's 2 plus 1? 3. But the answer here is 4. So it does not work for this. Therefore, we know that that cannot be the answer. So we could cross this out as well. Now this one here represents x to the power of 2x. So then we have 2x here. So the first value is 0. So then we could say 2 to the power of 0. So anything to the power of 0 is 1. So that one would be 1. The next one we want to try now is 1 to the power of 2 to the power of 1. So then we have 2 to the power of 1, which is 2. Then we could have 2 now, when x is 2. So then we say 2 to the power of 2, which is the same as 2 times 2, which is 4. So it works for this one as well. Looking good. So this one, 3. So now we could say 2 to the power of 3 is equal to what? 8. So we know that C is the answer for this one. There's no need for us to even try the last one. So we're back with a similar question here again. So 51. Which of the following sets is represented by the function x, then we're going x squared plus 3. So in essence, this is like the same thing we did just now. We have an x first, and then our answer over here is going to be x squared plus 3. So we're using it for these numbers here, 0, 1, 2, and 3. So if you look at this now, you're saying that the first value is 0. So let's put this into it. So 0 squared plus 3. So what's 0 squared? 0 squared is 0. So 0 plus 3, we end up with 3. So when x is 0, we get a 3 from this. Therefore, our first coordinate is 0, 3. That's all it's asking us for, the coordinate. So first coordinate is 0, 3. So all of them have 0, 3. So we're good on that part. Everybody is good there. The next one we try now is when x is 1. So when x is 1, we're saying x squared again, which is 1 squared plus 3. What's 1 squared? 1 squared is 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. So 1, 4 is our next option. So 1, and our output is 4. We look here. This doesn't have it. So this is out. This doesn't have it, so this we can say 2 to the power of 2, because we're still using this x squared here, plus 3. What is 2 squared? 2 squared is 4. And when we add 3 to that, we're going to get 7. Okay, so that's equal to 7. So 2, 7. When you look here, this one does not have 2, 7. This one has it, so this is our answer. So if we was to try it for 3 now, we would end up getting 12. So in the diagram PQ and RS, they are parallel. Which of the following best describes the relation between P and Q? So if you look at P and Q are what we call alternate angles. So they're going to be equal. So these angles are the same size. So P is equal to Q. All right. So for this particular question, we need to determine the translation. Mapping AB, which is the first line here, to A prime, B prime, which is this here. So we have 2, 5 here. So we have 2, 5 here. and we went to 4. So we went from 2, 5 to 4 to 4, 6. So 2 to 4. If we're going from 2 to 4, we basically had to move 2 times to the right. Okay, so we move 2 times to the right. That's how we get 2. And then from 5 to 6, we had to move how many times? 1 up. Because remember, the y represents going up or down, right? So we went 2, 5, then we went up 1. Okay, so imagine this was the 2 here, and we went up 1. Here the 5 went up 1. So then from here to here was the 1. So if I had to write as a vector, it would be 2, 1. Let's check it for over here now. Same thing, from 5 to 7, we move 2 to the right. And then after, for this one, 7 to 8, we move 1 up. So it's the same concept, 2, 1. That would be our answer. We have it here, which is this. All right, so this here is a circle theorem question. They want us to figure out the value of y. Now this one is an easy one. We don't even have to state the reason why. But when we have this one, I like to call this one Patrick. Looks like, Patrick to some degree. So basically once you see this, if this is 50, here is double this size, which is going to be 50 times 2. So therefore our angle here is 100 degrees. Alright, so this one here, a ship sail 8 kilometers due east from A to B. 8 kilometers due east. It then sails 6 kilometers due north. So we have two situations here. Which one of the following diagram best represents the path of the ship? So let's kind of think of this for a little bit. We're going from A to B. So we start off at A and we're going to B. So A to B, and remember, I went east. Okay, so let's say this was north. So never eat shredded wheat. So north, east, southwest. So I went from A to B, which was this direction. How far was that? Due east would be 8 kilometers. And then from B, where did I go? I sailed 6 kilometers due north. So from B, I went due north, which is directly up. So this here represents where C is, and that's 6 kilometers. So I'm looking for something that can remind me of this. So if I'm looking at this does not match with my diagram. Neither does this one here. Now this here matches with my diagram. Because we're going due east 8 kilometers and then we're going up 6. Alright, so that's going to be our answer for that one. Okay, so let's look at this one here. It says the transformation which will map triangle PQR. So this is PQR here onto P prime, Q prime, R prime, which is this one here, is what? What is that? Now, if you look at this, if this was a reflection, it would have looked something like this. And it depends on what axis we're looking at. So we know for sure it can't be a reflection. Okay? So this reflection would not be a situation. And we're saying in a y equal x line, which is this. But it would have, looked a little bit more symmetrical. So it would have looked something like this. So when you look at it relative to this line, this is how it would look. So we know this is out of the question. It definitely is not an enlargement of scale factor 1. Because if you try to connect these points, corresponding points, it wouldn't necessarily give us that. But what we know that we will get from it though is a reflection. So this here, not a reflection, a rotation. So if we were to rotate this around about this origin here, we would end up getting the image. Okay, so I'm looking at this now, and our enlargement may actually be able to work as well too. So the rotation of 180 degrees would be the answer for this. So the reason why I was saying that we could look at the enlargement is because if you kind of like draw this line here and then draw this across and draw this across, we still end up with a center here. So it's kind of like it rotates in this case because they say a -1, and it would still be like some, enlargement that's negative is some form of, rotation as well, So it just so happens that this is the center of enlargement as well too, and it passes through that. So that actually could work in this instance as well. But I would say it's a rotation because if you was to rotate this around, the points would line up. Okay, so we call this a rotation. Alright, so looking at this here, it says the diagram not drawn to scale shows that the angle of depression of point X from Z is 35. So the diagram not drawn to scale shows that the angle of depression here is 35. So here's 35. If X is 12 meters, so X to Y is 12 meters, the height YZ in meters is, so we want to figure out what this height here is. So if we're looking at, 35 degrees being the angle of depression, we could also put this here. So the angle here would be 35 degrees. Now, what are we trying to find? Remember, this right angle here, the line opposite to this is considered the hypotenuse. And the line opposite the angle, or the line that subtends this angle or closes this angle, is called the opposite. If this is the opposite, this is the hypotenuse. Clearly, 12 would be what we call the adjacent. Alright, so right now, they want us to figure out what this over here is. We do not have a length for the hypotenuse, so we use the length that we have for A, which is 12. So if we are trying to use A, and we are trying to use O from SOHCAHTOA, what uses O and A? 10. So basically we could say that tan angle, so in this case tan 35, is equal to the opposite, which is what we're trying to figure out, over the adjacent, which is 12. So if we cross multiply now, we'll end up with tan 35 times 12, which is 12 tan 35, and that's equal to O. So our answer is 12 tan 35. Alright, let's look at the next question now. So, looking at this one here now, it says that 58, we have a triangle ABC, which is this one here. And it's mapped onto this triangle here. It has a center of enlargement at the origin. And what is the scale factor of the enlargement is what they're trying to tell us. What is the scale factor? How much bigger did it get? How much smaller did it get, right? So if you look at it, from here to here, always use a reference point. So this here is 2. The height of right here is 2 from A to C. Now if I measure the same area, I would have here as 4. So if here is 2 and here is 4, that means a double. So it went to twice the size. Twice the size. So if you don't, agree with that one and you want to see this one here, if I go across, I'm just checking from this side here. That is 2 to 3 is 1. Now on this side here, 4 to 6 will give us 2. So as you can see again, it doubled. So the scale factor is 2. Alright, so on this question now, it says, in the right angle triangle above, which trigonometric ratio is equal to 4 over 8? So 4, which is this, over 8. We know already 8 is a hypotenuse because it is the angle opposite of this right angle here. So hypotenuse. Now what is 4? 4 is either the opposite or adjacent depending on what we're looking at, whether we're looking at from the perspective of y or the perspective of x. So let's look at it from the perspective of x. So from the perspective of x first, let's see. This would be the opposite because the angle we're focusing on, which is x, makes this line the opposite of that particular angle we're looking at. So that would mean that here would be the opposite. So back to our SOHCAHTOA that we did earlier. What uses O and H? O and H is used by S, which is sine. So sine angle, in this case sine x, is equal to the opposite, which is 4 over 8. So therefore, we could say that this ratio is represented by sine x. Alright. Alright, so the next one that we're looking at is this over here. So in this particular one now, it says in the diagram above, AB is parallel to EC. So AB is parallel to EC. So these two lines are parallel to each other. So it's asking us, what is the value of BDE? So let's trace BDE. So we're going from B to D, then D to E. So we're looking basically for this angle here. Okay, so if here is 40, I know that the opposite here is also 40. The alternate angle here is also 40 degrees. We kind of had that in an earlier question. Where is it now? We had that in an earlier question. Alright, here it is. So it's basically saying once these angles are opposite from each other or alternate, they are equal. So likewise with this question over here, it's telling us that these here would be equal since these lines are parallel. So if here is 40, what we need to figure out is what this here is. And we know that this here is a straight line. In a straight line, the angle of a straight line adds up to 180 degrees. So if this whole line here is 180, if we subtract 40, we would end up with 180 take away 40. 0 take away 0, 0. 8 take away 4, 4. 1 take away that is 1. So we know our answer would be 140 degrees. So that's our answer for that one. So basically we did the paper minus the one that disappeared on us. So let's see if it would open up on this document here. So we could kind of look at it. So I think the one we would have missed would have been this question over here. So this is the questions that we missed from earlier. So let's see if we could do these. So it says given that 3x minus 1 minus 2 times x minus 1 is equal to 7. So we could basically try to put in these numbers and work it out, or we could actually work it out ourselves. So I'll go first with saying 3 times x, which is 3x, and 3 times 1, which is minus 3. Now for this one it says minus 2 times x. Think of it as minus, which gives us minus 2x. Now this is the one you have to be careful for. Minus 2 times minus 1. Think of it as minus 2 times minus 1. And a negative times a negative, positive. So we get positive 2, which is equal to 7. Now we group the x's and group the numbers. So then we'll have them grouped based on what's in front of them sign-wise. So I like to do this so students could better understand and visualize how they are grouped. So then we would have 3x minus 2x because of this here, minus 2x. And I could say plus 2 minus 3 is equal to 7. So when I do 3x take away 2x, I'll end up with x. Plus 2 take away 3 is minus 1, which is equal to 7. If I want to get the x by itself, add 1 to both sides. So we'll have x is equal to 7 plus 1, which is 8. So our answer in this case is 8. Alright, so with this one now it says in the circle above with center O, the area is 20 centimeters. So we are saying the area of this entire shape is 20 centimeters squared. Now it's saying now the area of the minus sector AOB in centimeters is, so if we're looking at this here, we're looking at this section here. Think of this as a slice of pizza. This just represents one portion of the pizza. What portion does it represent? 60 degrees. And how much degrees does a circle have? 360. So we could basically say 60 degrees over 360 degrees is a proportion of this slice of pizza. And to figure out what would be the area, we just need to figure out the proportion of 20. So we'd say 60 over 360 times 20. So therefore our answer would be this. Now in this case it says 2,500 milliliters expressed in meters is, so with this one here we know that 1 meter is basically 1,000 millimeters. Okay, so what we would do in this case is basically just divide. So we'd say 2,500 divided by 1,000. So if you know, here would basically be where the decimal would be, because it's the end of the number, 2,500 point whatever. So if we divide by 1,000, we have 3 zeros. So all we need to do is move this point 3 times. So we go 1, 2, 3. So 2.5 millimeters. 2.5 meters is 2,500 millimeters. So this would be our answer. Alright, so this part now, it says the volume in centimeters cube of the cylinder is, they could have said it in terms of pi. But if you look at this, it says refers to the following diagram. The cylinder is 20 height and we have 6 diameter. Now, the volume of a prism again, like we did earlier, is area times height. But remember, in this case, we have the cross-sectional area, which represents a circle. Now, the area of a circle is pi r squared. Now, if the diameter is 6, remember the diameter is 6, that must mean that the radius has to be 3. So if it's 3 and the area is equal to pi r squared, we could say that the area is equal to pi times 3 to the power 2. What's 3 to the power 2? 9. So then the area is 9 pi. Okay, so then we'll say now, using this, the area is 9 pi. And what is our height? Our height is 20. So now we could simplify this to work out our answer. We could say 9 pi times 20. So just dropping the pi for now. Let's just put it here. Now we need to figure out what's 9 times 20. So if I multiply 20 and 9, 9 times 0, 0. 9 times 2, 18. 180 pi centimeters cubed. And if you look here, this is our answer. Nice. Now this one here, it says the distance around the edge of a circular pond is 8 to 8 meters. So this is one that I answered on TikTok before as well. So you can check it out there. So we have a circle here. We're saying that the distance around this is 8 to 8. So if you go all the way around, this is 8 to 8 meters. And this represents the what? The circumference. That's all that means, the circumference. Because once it's a circle, that's what we're looking at, the circumference. Now we know the circumference of a circle is equal to 2 pi r. And if you didn't know that, it's actually on the front of your exam formula sheet. So you have 2 times pi times r. So if we know what the circumference is, which is 8 to 8, we could say 8 to 8 is equal to 2 pi r. They want us to figure out the radius. So in order to get a radius, we have to divide both sides by 2 pi. If you divide both sides by 2 pi, we'll be left with the radius is equal to 8 to 8 over 2 pi. So the radius is equal to 8 to 8 over 2 pi. Now, we don't have that here. So what we have to do is try to simplify again now. So 2 could go into itself once, and 2 could go into 8 to 8 4 times. Therefore, our radius is 44 over pi. Therefore, this is our answer. Alright. Okay, so let's look at this next one here now. It says an aircraft leaves at 16 hours and arrives at B at 19:30. So 19:30, what is 19:30? Now, 19:30 and 16 hours each other. So 16, 17, 18, 19 is 3 hours, and then we have the 30 part, which represents half hour. So we basically have 3.5 hours. Now with 3.5 hours, they say that we are traveling at an average speed of 550 meters per hour. So we're going 550 kilometers per hour. That means that every hour we're traveling 550. Now, if I'm doing this on a multiple choice exam, how I'm going to look at that is having it as 550. I just work it out as 550 plus 550. We could start off by doing that. So 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. 5 plus 5 plus 5 is 15. Now 5 plus 5 plus 5 is 15 plus 1 is 16. So we have 1,650 as the first 3 hours. That's all we're looking at right now. So we have 650 representing 3 hours. So we know for sure this already out, this already out. So we need to work out for the other 2. Now we have half an hour left. So if we are doing 550 per hour, if I divide this by 2 now, I could work out how much you get in half an hour. Because remember, I'm splitting 3.5 hours. So this now is for half an hour. So 2 into 5 goes twice. Remainder 1. So 2 into 15 goes 7. And what's our remainder? 1. 2 into 10 goes what? 5. So then we have our answer, 275. So 275 represents how much we do in half an hour. And we also have this here for 3 hours. So if we add 2 of these, we would get our answer. So 1650 plus 275. So 0 plus 5 is 5. 5 plus 7 is 12. We put a 1 here. 6 plus 1, 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. Then we bring down this 1. 1 plus 0 here will be 1. So we have 1925. So that's our answer. So remember to keep working at these questions. Keep trying your best at it. Keep practicing. Keep practicing. You want to try to get like scores as high as possible out of 60. Get above